Well, tonight has been quite the night, to put it mildly. So I'm finally off work. It's late Sunday night, although technically Monday morning, October 23rd, 12:15 a.m. I might have dipped into overtime just a little bit. Under the circumstances, I don't see it being a problem. At least I hope not. It's occurred to me, since I haven't really figured out how to use the HR app for PO Please or whatever it is, the company that handles payroll for MLS, that what I should probably start doing is just taking photographs of my written timesheet. All right, what the hell we got going on here? They did a chip coat on Buckeye Road through this area here a couple days ago, and they haven't got out here to stripe it. So I guess these little pylons are to help denote the left-hand turn lane. Oh, so anyway, what the hell was I saying? Like I look at what's going on and then I lose my train of thought. I've been like that today. Yeah, I was thinking probably the best way for me to keep track of my hours is to take photographs of my timesheets. I still haven't got paid for the day that I had my meeting with management regarding my issues with low IQ Jesse. Part of that's on me for not bringing it to their attention immediately, but yeah, it would be so much easier if I had photographs of all my handwritten clock in, clock out, so I think I'm going to get in the habit of doing that. Oh, so since I went to get lunch, quite a bit has happened. Now, I do think when I was driving back from lunch, I talked about how we were moving the Ford Explorers that had been pulled from the recall. Barry, who's the main shop manager in the evening, not sure what all those blinky lights were coming towards me, but I had room to cut in front of them. When I got there, gosh, it's been such a long day, I'm having trouble remembering everything that happened today, especially since my short-term memory's been kind of sketchy today. Yeah, I came in, there was no management inside the MLS office, which I didn't expect there to be. There's usually not on Sunday. And I brought food. Oh, by the way, I finally remembered to bring some of those little frozen chicken bake sandwiches that I got from Costco. Those are way smaller than they look in the picture. I would have never guessed how ridiculously small they are. I was pretty excited at the quantity that it said there was in the box for the price, but they're not an entree. They're part of an appetizer. They're tiny little things. They're delicious, though. I'll give them that. And just take a moment to microwave once they're thawed out. The cooking times of the boxes are assuming you're freezing them, but I don't have a freezer at work, so when I bring things in to work that are frozen to microwave, they kind of thaw out in the fridge until the point I microwave them. I just kind of have to estimate what to cook. I just remembered I'm super thirsty and I've got another thing of vitamin water sitting in my bag. Oh yeah, that hit the spot. So anyway, came in, put my bag, because I made a bag with drinks and a couple of those little frozen turkey bake sandwich things. Threw it in the refrigerator, walked out, got in a car. I don't even remember what kind of car. And I don't remember if I drove it to the flip lane or if I drove it to PC. All I know is within 2 trips up and down, bringing cars up and then bringing maintenance cars down, before I ran into Andre and Collie. And I don't think I've talked about Collie before. I don't know what to think of him. He's super quiet. He doesn't seem like he's all there. And I'm not saying that to be mean. That's just my impression. He just seems to, I don't know, he's just a really quiet guy. I'm sure there's a lot of people who think I'm that way, because I can be that way when I'm around people I don't know. Or people I'm not comfortable with. Andre, on the other hand, things are ridiculous when Andre and I are together, some of the conversations. Anyway, I saw them, and they were moving the recalled Ford Explorers into a line by the shop lane. And I think I mentioned that he moved 2 full lines of those. And there was one we left behind because it had a flat tire. My suggestion was to move it into a tire line because it had a completely flat tire. And Andre's like, oh, he just said to do 2 of those lines. I don't want to do anything else. I figured, well, I'll just come back and get it later. And I did. Once I'm on foot, it's really a matter with me of just moving to the task that's closest to me on foot. I mean, obviously I'm prioritizing certain things that need to be done. Anything with a pop trunk in the shop area to go to the kick-out dirty line, that's obviously a priority. Although I didn't fully prioritize that because the kick-out line was probably the most full I've ever seen it today. To the point there was a couple times where I stopped and just sort of organized it because it was kind of dangerously blocking the traffic lane behind it. I mean, not dangerously dangerous, but it's just, I find it problematic when they're blocking the traffic lane. Instead of bringing all those out and focusing on those, since I knew there were so many maintenance cars coming in, this of course was after we finished the whole project of moving all the Ford Explorers. Well, not all the Ford Explorers. There's still a lot of Ford Explorers left to move. They're going to be working on those for a while. I don't know how many they were that were put into the back over that safety recall, but it's a lot, and there's still a lot there. Andre ran into one with a dead battery. He just like got out of it and got in a different one. I went back to start it. He goes, so you should have paid attention to me. And I'm like, well, you should have popped the hood on that. Just, I don't know. I guess I'm just so thorough with everything. Because when I went to it, I popped the hood on it, and then I marked on the window the date and the words dead battery. I just try to make sure, like, everything I can't take care of is just very well marked for whoever will take care of it. Speaking of things that are marked and to take care of, there was the BMW, actually, in the segment earlier, where I was walking through, after I came in from my lunch break, and I was walking through all the what the hell? Wow. I guess those guys are having some kind of big party in their yard and have taken it upon themselves to block some of the street with traffic cones. Alrighty then. I kind of wish I was vlogging when I went out, because there were a couple of rather hefty Latinas in very shiny, sparkly dresses going up to there as I was on my way to work. Very shiny and very plus-sized. They look like giant walking disco balls to me. Anyway, yeah, so when I was walking down and commenting about the cars that had pop trunks in the glass area, the BMW. So I had parked that BMW in the pink line. I don't know if that was yesterday or maybe Thursday, but I remember driving that BMW. It had a defect in it. The sort of thing that I remember. One of the things I do in every car I get in is I try to tune in the radio. I need the music on just to block out all the noise in my head, or otherwise I'm really not comfortable moving vehicles. Like that's what kind of calms me down and gives me the clarity I need to do this job. And the screen that's in it has 2 dark spots, kind of like the dark spots I got on my phone from the pressure points when Al put the screen in wrong. 2 spots like that taking out a big chunk of the screen, which of course looks terrible. And when you're in a vehicle as high end as a BMW, it really stands out when something like that is messed up. And granted, I was moving it because it needed a new windshield, but I figured, well, what the hell, let's get that screen taken care of. So I marked on the window that, about the problem with the screen. I put it in the pink line. Well, apparently somebody just scratched that off and moved it to the glass area to get a new windshield. Well, I got a new windshield in it. And I thought about marking it again, but at that point it was like, you know what? Fuck it. I've already marked it. Somebody looked at that and looked at the screen and said, this is fine. Scratched it off. So I put it in the kickouts. I imagine somebody's probably going to get in it to rent it and complain about it. Or maybe take it, drive, turn on the screen and look at that and go, oh, that's fucked up. And then exchange it for another vehicle. And then it's going to get marked exchange. I expect to see that one back. Because that should have got fixed before it went to the windshield area. Or at least it should have remained on the window written down. That way when I pulled it out of the windshield area, I would have put it back in the pink line. But since somebody took the effort to scrape it, fuck it, I took it out. Anyway, I was going to say more about what went down today, but basically just so much work. The owl was such a great distraction, though. Now, at some point, somebody moved the SUV that it was sitting on. It was a Traverse. Although I did notice that there's one time I drove by the Traverse and the owl was gone. But there were a couple other times I walked by it and I'm like, hey, what's up, owl? In fact, I had one time I drove by it and I lowered the window down and I leaned out and it was looking at me, looking at it. I'm like, hey, bird. I really hope I see that baby owl again. I'm convinced that it lives in that parking garage. I'm convinced of that. I've seen a lot of pigeons nested up in there, but it's the first time I've seen an owl. I got a feeling it was probably born there. It just seemed remarkably comfortable perched on the rearview mirror of an SUV. That's not normal owl habitat. And it just seemed like, yeah, that's my spot. So whenever I'm in that area of the garage, I'm going to be keeping my eyes out for that owl. Anyway, there are more vehicles than I could possibly move today. Towards the end of the night, when there were no more gas vehicles to move up, I started servicing the EVs, which of course takes more time because I'm servicing the EVs. But I really enjoy doing it. And the white guy that I worked with on Sunday and Monday, I can't remember his name, but I know it's kind of a nerdy name. So for some reason, my mind keeps wanting to call him Poindexter, and I know that's not his name. But damned if I can remember what his name is, and for some reason I'm like, Poindexter. He seemed pretty excited that they didn't force him and I to work together as a team, but he seemed really happy when he saw that I was helping him with the EVs. And I'm sure he'd much rather have me, since his priority is EVs, I'm sure he'd much rather have me moving them than the van full of idiots. Speaking of the van full of idiots, I could have used their help today. Just taking maintenance cars down to the gatekeeper line. Yeah, they didn't decide that was something they should do until like 12:45, 12:50, something like that. Not much I could do with it then. I mean, I moved as many out of the gatekeeper line when I started bringing them down to the gatekeeper line as I could. But when I left, there was maybe room for 3 more cars in the gatekeeper line. It was that full. But that's because I don't let the gatekeeper back up if I'm working, especially if I'm working solo. Every time I bring something down, if anything got moved to the gatekeeper line, sort of put it away before I go back up top. Well, they brought them all down at once at the end of the night. I had to leave at midnight. It just is what it is. I'm sure tomorrow I'll be talking to somebody that's management at MLS, as well as some management inside the shop regarding how things went tonight. I don't think they went bad, just I have this image of what they're going to leave the gatekeeper like, and I'm sure somebody's asked, well, why did you leave the gatekeeper like that? And I'll be sure to let them know, hey, I was by myself, and the up-down crew didn't see fit to start putting stuff in the gatekeeper line until 1:45 to midnight. Not much I could do. I mean, normally I leave at 10:30, so be thankful I stayed till midnight. Another thing I did, now, occasionally they'll have us, and I've done this more when I'm working with a team with Collie and Andre, and there's a lot of returns happening where we'll go through and maintenance cars that are mixed in with the return as the returns are coming in and move them to the maintenance line by the wall. But when I'm by myself, generally speaking, I find them and I just take them down. Well, at one point, it was 11:40-ish, and I realized that there was just no way I was going to get all the cars that were maintenance cars that were scattered, left behind by the up-down crew for me to move. At the rate I was going, there was just no way I was going to get them all down in where they were going. So I walked through, and probably not a lot. I'm guessing maybe 5, 6-ish. I just walked and put them. There were 2 full maintenance lines, long, like along the wall. The first line right against the wall, and then for some reason left a space in the middle, and then they made another line. I can see advantages to that, so I went ahead and followed suit and kind of filled up the second line with it. And except for the last one, and I took it down, and then I came back up with another EV, and that one had a fairly low battery, so I had to take it to the chargers. Well, at this point, they're having us use the chargers that are way at the far end of $1. So when I got there, I saw a blue light. So those ones, they've got a couple of lines over by those chargers where they have a stage up fully charged ones, which was fine. I moved it over there. In the back of that line, at that point, I'm so far in the back that I'm nowhere near any maintenance lines. It's like 1:45 to midnight, and I'm on foot. And I just decided to walk over and move another one of those damn Ford Explorers. They got a few of them done after Kali and Andre and I did that big project filling up the lines. And I was keenly aware of the fact that there was room for 5 more in the back end, should I ever get caught up enough to bring them. I never did, but I did bring one more up, just because, again, I'm picking tasks that are closest to me on foot. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to, spend the next 5-10 minutes walking when I can walk, a minute and grab that Ford and take it. But anyway, busy night. Got some interesting phone calls tonight while I was working. I don't have much to say about that other than, wow, Katrina and her hot, really young-looking Latina friend were out and about. Katrina sounded hammered. She wanted to hang out and party with me. Yeah, not a good night for that. I mean, I'm certainly down to spend some time with her, but I'm busy. I'm the kind of guy who needs advance notice on most stuff. So I told her I'd call her back when I got off work. I did. I know she was wanting me to drive her and her friend forgot her ID. She's like, well, maybe we can go to a bar that you know. And I'm like, yeah. I said, none of the bars I go to would serve her without ID. They'll serve me without ID. They'll probably serve you without ID. If you're with me, they'd serve you without ID. But they're definitely carding her. And I know I want to say she's around 30-ish, or at least like in her mid to late 20s. But she looks like she could be 19 or 20. So, of course she's getting ID'd. Anyway, it didn't even occur to me when I was on the phone with Katrina that there's no way I could drive them. I mean, A, I don't have insurance on my car right now, so I'm not about doing any extra driving. And B, like, the whole back seat of my car is full of stuff, and the passenger seat is kind of full of stuff. So, yeah. I did tell her I'd call back after work. I did. I was very relieved that it just went to voicemail. And Priscilla started blowing up my phone, like, towards the end of the night. I told her, I was like, I'm still working. She seemed really shocked by that, but I got a feeling this is going to be becoming more and more of a regular thing on Sunday, which is fine. It allows me to make up the hours that, like, I had that day that I ended up clocking and work like 50 minutes late because I got there and forgot my shoes. And then there's several, days throughout the week where I clock in maybe 5 minutes late or 10 minutes late. It adds up. I make up for it today. I definitely got my 40 hours this week. Hopefully I'm not in too much trouble for deciding to work on Saturday. But I feel like I was needed. Although sometimes I question if I get more work done by myself than working with Steve. Just because of what it's like working with Steve. But there's a lot to be said for working with Steve, namely that nobody fucks with Steve, so consequently nobody fucks with me when I'm working with Steve. And I like that. Anyway, thanks for coming with me on the drive. I'm ready to relax and get something else to eat because those little chicken bake things were tiny and did not fill me up.